All right, senior home business family, how you guys doing today? Hope you're having a great Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. I know it's a Labor Day weekend, so some might be on today, some might not be, but that's okay. We're here every Monday bringing you information about the senior placement business, but also how to be successful in business. And today I want to talk to you about a topic that I believe will help you as an entrepreneur. If you are in this business, senior placements business, or you're in something else, working out of your house, or you just started a business that you have a product you're selling, a service, whatever it may be, I believe this live will help you greatly in being successful. I'm going to share with you several different things that I have implemented in my own life that turned my life around. 10 years ago, I was literally living paycheck to paycheck, making about $85,000 a year. So I wasn't destitute. I wasn't living on the streets. But man, I was just worried about bills. I was worried about anything and everything that people struggle with today in life. And so my emotional system, man, my whole just way of living was just not where it needed to be. And I started making some changes in my life. And I want to share some of those changes with you today, especially the last one you're going to hear. So stay with this video. The last one is going to shock you, because it's something that I have started doing. The last one, I won't tell you right now because I want you to stay on this video, but hey, it's something over the last year I started to do, and it really has worked for me. And it's kind of counterintuitive. It doesn't coincide with the messages and the videos that are out today in terms of being successful. But I want to get into today talking about, and the title is Senior Placement Success, because if you don't know me, my name is Matt Stafford. I'm in California. I've been doing the senior placement business since 2018. I've been doing the senior home business community, used to be Senior Referral Academy, since 2019. We've got several hundred students across the country. If you want to learn more about that, you can click the link down below and watch a free webinar, schedule a consultation, all that stuff. But I want to get into today about how can you be successful, even if you're not in this business and you're just a entrepreneur and you're just trying to make your way in life, man. You're just starting something, or you want to start something. Excuse me. How do you become successful? And the first thing I want to tell you is you need to make a decision, not a choice. And too many times in my life, when I was making $85,000 a year, I was a W-2 employee most of my life. I'm 55 years of age now. Not that being a W-2 employee is bad. It could be a great thing for you if it's a great fit for you. If you could be living your dream, you could be making the amount of money you want to make. There's a lot of W-2 employees today that are making a lot of money and they're extremely happy. So it's not like entrepreneurship is the all in, everything you need to do. And that's the only thing you can do. But a lot of us are trying to make our own way, right? You're trying to pave your own path. You want to be a trailblazer. And being an entrepreneur is awfully difficult at times, isn't it? I mean, because you have a lot of risk. I mean, there's a lot of risk up front. Maybe you bought into a program like ours, the Senior Home Business Community. There's a buy-in. We don't really just sell a course. We can sell you a course, but we have a buy-in to our community and give you unlimited access into our course, unlimited coaching and all that. But there's a risk in that, because the risk is, okay, if I spend this money, am I ever going to get this money back? Am I ever going to start having a positive ROI? And I struggled with this because early on, that's all I was thinking about, is what I was going to lose. I was going to lose money. And I was struggling with money to begin with. So why in the world do I want to risk losing it? And my mindset has shifted over the years into the thinking now, when people ask me, like, for instance, how much does the course cost? How much does the coaching cost? I think in terms of what it's going to cost them if they don't do it. Now, it doesn't mean just our program. So this is not a sales pitch just on the senior home business, but just anything in general. I mean, I think oftentimes when you get on a phone call, a consultation with someone, myself or thousands of other people that are out there, you have some resistance, right? Because they're going to ask for money. They're going to have something like, if you want to be a part of this program, be a part of getting what I have for you, myself and others, it's going to cost you. So I often think in terms of what it's going to cost them if they don't do it. So for instance, let's say you're spending, $5,000 or $1,000 or $500, whatever it is, up front. It's initially painful because it's something that you've worked hard for. Maybe it's in your savings. Maybe, you were like me 10 years ago, living paycheck to paycheck. And it's $500 that could be going toward my rent. And that's a huge risk. It really is. And over the years, my mindset has shifted in the sense that it's not so much what it costs up front, it's what it's going to cost you in the end. And so for myself, I have literally spent thousands and thousands of dollars in coaching. There was one coaching program that I was a part of. I was spending $3,000 per month. May not be a lot of money for some. For me, it was a big risk. It was an undertaking of $3,000 a month. I mean, you do the math, that's what, $36,000 a year. I mean, shoot, that used to be about half what I used to make on an annual basis. So it was a big undertaking for me. And the only thing that I was getting was a group coaching call once a week. And I could ask one question only in that coaching call. And, I learned a lot. I really did. But I was thinking, man, for $3,000, I should be getting like personalized attention. I should be getting, being able to text this individual or whatever. But I didn't get any of that. Now we offer a lot more in our coaching and all that stuff, but it's a big risk. But you've got to make a decision. Is this good for you? Is this what you want to do? Is it your desire to be an entrepreneur? If it is, you've got to make a decision. And what I mean is, don't make a choice, because when you make a choice, you have options. When you make a decision, you're locked in, you're zoned in on, this is what I'm going to do. Come hell or high water, this is what I'm going to do in my life. And you've made that decision. Now, the word decision comes from a Latin French word. I'll probably mispronounce it. I took French back in high school for 3 years. I really enjoyed French, and because there was a lot of guys in that class. And the reason there was a lot of guys in that class is because the French teacher was hot. That's the only reason why I took French. I mean, there was a German teacher, Spanish teacher, Russian teacher, and they had nowhere near the looks that the French teacher did. So all the horny guys, including myself as a teenager, were in this French class. And, so I learned a little bit of French, and I couldn't take the 4th year because I wasn't fluent. I could barely even, say a couple sentences. But anyway, so I'll probably mispronounce this word, but it's a Latin French word where the word decision, the word decide, originates from. And it's hopefully pronounced décider, right? It's Decidere. How do you pronounce that? Décider. I even looked it up and I can't even pronounce it. But it means literally to cut off. The word day means off. Cadir means cut. So if you're going to make a decision to do something, whether join the senior home business or some other venture out there, you've got to cut off other options in your life. Too many times, I believe we short circuit our success because we leave too many options on the table. This is what I did back in the day. I mean, I would try something for a couple weeks, couple months, or, maybe a little bit longer. And if I wasn't getting any form of success, whatever success was in my mind, I would drift away from it and start something new. And that's the reason some of you today are not successful in what you're doing, because you're short circuiting your success by always starting over. Well, when you always start over, you're just doing just that. I mean, going back to ground zero. I mean, the things that you kind of built on, you've already established a foundation after a couple of months, maybe, or 6 months, you're getting into it. And now you're starting all over with something else. Now, I don't mean you can't ever stop doing something because it's just not you, or maybe you started something and really wasn't sure if it was going to be totally what you wanted to do, but you thought you'd give it a try. Well, that's not making a decision. That's just an option, right? So to be successful, you want to limit those options into making a decision. Tony Robbins said this a long time ago. It's an analogy of someone on a boat, and I guess he's the only guy on the boat, because the way the analogy goes, you get the boat to the island, and Tony Robbins says what you do is you burn the boat. And the reason is because you can't have in the back of your mind, there's a way out of this thing, meaning like I'm going backwards. No, I'm always going forward. And see, in life, it's counterintuitive, because in life, it's like sometimes we take a step forward and we take 2 steps backwards. And that's hard. That's very hard, especially when you're starting business and you've invested money, you've invested time, you've invested in relationships. You're starting something new and you're learning the system, and you're getting this thing ingrained in you, and you feel like, hey, I can do this. And then after 2 weeks or 2 months, it's just not working. Are you going to make the decision to stick with it? Now, there's a guy I follow on YouTube. You can follow him. He's a great guy. His name is Myron Golden. Myron Golden is successful today, multi-millionaire, and a lot, and more than just money, but he's a godly man, and I learned a lot from him. However, his story is when he got into an insurance company years ago when he was flat broke. I believe it was a multi-level company, but he got into an insurance company, and he went 18 months without a sale. 18 months without a sale. If that was me, I'm thinking probably after 3 months, I'm starting kind of to hang it up, right? Meaning like, this is not really working. I don't know. I'm trying everything they're telling me. I mean, I've got the pitch, I've got the program, I've got all these different materials. I'm out and about making appointments. I'm grinding. I'm doing all these different things, and it's just not working. And so, he stuck with it. And then after 18 months, he got his first sale. And then according to the story, within 2 or 3 years, he became the most influential guy in his company. He went top of the ladder, the most sales in the company after, 3 years or so, but he stuck with it. And we have to do those kind of things. I think of how many of you guys go to Starbucks, right? I don't know if you know this, but back in 1971, there was 3 guys that got together. I don't know their names, but there's 3 guys that got together and they decided to start a coffee company. And it was all about coffee beans, and they got it going. It was up in the Northwest. And Howard Schultz comes along in I believe it was 87. I believe it was the year I graduated high school. That gives you kind of indication of how old I am. But the year I graduated high school, he comes along and buys the company. Now, the interesting thing about that, you think, well, what's cool about that? How's that making a decision? Well, Howard Schultz was so committed to buying this company, he had to go out and get a loan to buy the company. And Howard Schultz got rejected 10 times at banks. Didn't stop. He got rejected 20 times. Didn't stop. He got rejected 100 times. Didn't stop. He ended up getting rejected 242 times at various banks that he could not get a loan to buy the coffee business. Now, if that's you or me, where will we have stopped along the way? For me, it would probably been around the 15, 20 bank limit. I would hit all the major banks, my bank, Chase and Citibank and Bank of America, and name all the other main banks that are out there. And then I probably would hit some credit unions and some hard money lenders. I'd have gotten in the neighborhood about 15 to 20, and I would have probably just hung it up. So, this dream of mine, this desire to have this business is not going to materialize. And fortunately, because I like Starbucks, I go there quite a bit. Howard Schultz didn't stop there. And so my thing for you, are you making a decision to be an entrepreneur, or is it a choice? Are you making a decision to do the senior placement business or whatever other business you're doing, or is it a choice? And only you can decide, there's that word, decide, only you can determine whether it's a choice for you or a decision that you're making. And if it's a decision you're making, then stick with it. It's going to be some hard times. I've learned in entrepreneurship, man, there's ups and downs. I talk a lot about the ups. I talk a lot about the money you can make in the senior placement business. I have made a lot of money doing this, but there's weeks that went by without a lead. There's been weeks that goes by without someone moving in because I didn't have a lead. I remember a time my wife and I were traveling down to LA. It's the early part of my business, probably 6 months into my business, somewhere around there. And if you know my story, we did 3 move-ins the first month, and then, we did a couple here and there and forward, and we kind of went back to 3. You're going to fluctuate, right? I mean, I talk a lot about building your pipeline, and that's going to happen, but nevertheless, it's going to fluctuate month to month, right? And hopefully you get to the place where you can sustain it to a certain range, and you kind of know the bare minimum. Well, anyway, early on in my career, my business, my wife needed to go down to LA. My wife was going to an eye medical doctor. She went through a number of different surgeries and things like that. So it wasn't like, it was optional. We go. We had to go. And now this might not seem, too severe to you, but it was for me at the time. I had $2,400 in my bank account, pretty much exactly $2,400. And I didn't have another lead. So obviously I didn't know where the next move-in was coming. It was before we had senior home business, before we did other different things that we're doing and investments. So I literally had that. Credit was not really good at the time. And so it wasn't like I can go out and get a loan, I can go get a line of credit, anything like that. It was just $2,400. And that's what I had to play with. And so we were going to drive to LA, and it was one of those things we couldn't just drive there and drive back because she was getting surgery and we needed to stay in a hotel. She couldn't go out to eat, so we had to order in or do room service. So the bill kept going up and up and up. And I remember in my mind going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do if I don't get another lead? I remember thinking that. I did not share with my wife at the time. Now we have a shared checking account, and we know everything, but I didn't really tell her there was no leads coming in at the time because I didn't want her to be fearful and be overly concerned, especially going into surgery. But I knew it in myself, that's where we were. And I just remember making a decision on the way down to LA, you know what, this is going to work out. You know, things have always worked out for me in the past. They're working out for me now, and they will work out for me in the future. See, you got to be at a place of non-resistance when you have all these different things coming at you, no leads, fear starts to creep in. You start to be sad because your business is not materializing like you want it to. But you have to realize no matter where you are in life, you've always been taken care of. And I had to realize that. I was like, man, even though when I was making hardly anything, paycheck to paycheck, and flat broke and, owed everybody money under the sun, just terrible financially, I was always taken care of. And I'm taken care of now, and I will be taken care of in the future. So you got to realize that, but you need to make a decision, not a choice. And so what is your decision in doing this? Are you going to stick with the senior placement business? Are you going to stick with the business that you're in? Are you going to stick with it because you've been in it for 2 years or 2 weeks, whatever it is? Is this a calling of yours? I say calling because I feel like in my life, a person of faith, God directs me in areas, not to super spiritualize the whole thing, but I really believe that God directs me. And in ways he speaks to me. And if you're a person of faith, you understand. But even if you're not, it's just you have to make a decision. Are you willing to stick in this business, whatever you're doing, and are you going to be successful? And you have to be determined you are going to be successful. So another thing I want to get into is eliminating distractions, because along this journey in this business that you're in, there's going to be distractions, especially in a senior placement business, because we're always online. We teach you social media, we teach you outreach, and we teach you different things that you're constantly interacting with people, and you're on your phone and all this. And how many know when you're on your phone, you're scrolling, it's easy to be distracted. Your cousin just had a baby. Oh my gosh. And then you start looking at the baby pictures. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. And you spend 45 minutes to an hour looking over pictures and maybe writing them send them off a text, or sharing with friends and other family members on the phone. And before you know, an hour went by and you really didn't do a whole lot. Now, it doesn't mean you don't, rejoice and be happy because your cousin had a baby, but there's a time and place for that. Don't be distracted. It's easy to get distracted today. And I mean, there's other areas like personal issues. There's always going to be issues that come up. I've learned over time now that I'm making a lot more money, and that's not the end all, guys, but making a lot more. I'm a lot more comfortable financially now. I'm not living financially insecure like I used to be. But there's also kinds of personal issues that come up, and in business or in your own life. I mean, just because you're making quite a bit of money doesn't mean the problems go away. Typically, what I've learned is the problems just get bigger. So you have to always be a problem solver. But it could be fear of failure. That could be a distraction for you. I mean, you're in this business, this venture, and you're just wondering when there's going to be a breakthrough. And I mean, you're starting to question yourself. And so there's this fear of failure, like I'm going to fail. Let me give you some excitement right now. Some joy if you embrace this. I believe people, as they fail through life, you can look at it as you're failing going backwards or you're failing forward. Meaning, like, when you encounter this situation, this problem, is it something that you're learning from, or is it something that's preventing you from getting where you need to be? And I have reshifted my mind over time. Every time I go through a situation or a problem, a challenge, it's a time to learn. It's a learning experience. It's a time for growth. And that's for you. You can grow from that, and another way you can limit distractions is just stop listening to the noise, whether it be the news or whether it be, other things on social media that doesn't really, affect you one way or the other. I mean, get more micro than macro. That's one thing I've learned over the years, man. Be more focused on what I'm doing, micro, the things I can micromanage. I don't like micromanaging people, but just my own life, right? What's going to influence me and what's directly impacting my life. Let me focus on those things instead of focusing on the macro, the things of the world that I have little say so about what goes on, right? I'm just a speck in this world. I'm just one person amongst 8 billion people, I think is the number, right? So there's not a whole lot you can change individually in the world, but there's everything that you can change in and of yourself. So start focusing on the micro and not the macro. So what are some things that you can grow from? But you have to eliminate distractions, because all through the day, you will be distracted if you're not careful, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sitting in my home office right now. I've got an office upstairs, and you think, my gosh, this is wonderful. And it is wonderful. I'm super blessed. I'm super honored to have all this set up and do the things that I do and be able to help people and serve people. I'm super grateful. But being in the home working, if you've ever worked from home, and many of you did, especially during COVID, you understand what I'm getting ready to say. It's easy to get distracted. I got a pool out back. I can go swimming. The grandbabies come over. I want to go see them. The refrigerator's not too far away. I don't have a boss overlooking my shoulder and have to ask to take a break. I just go take a break. But you have to be disciplined. So learn to eliminate distractions in your life. Now, I'm going to tell you this third one that's coming up, and this is the one I was referring to earlier, that it's going to shock you. It's counterintuitive to people that are saying this on the internet. And I bought into the things that were said on the internet by most people for years, up until about a year ago. And here it is right here. And I have to explain it to you a little bit. It's the best way I can explain it on the screen is do you while keeping your desires and dreams front and center. Now, what I mean by that is I was taught during the time, especially, early on in entrepreneurship. And like I said, up until about a year ago, man, you always had to grind. And I did a lot of videos on grinding. So you might be able to find something on my YouTube channel and definitely my social media handles, Instagram or other places where I talk about the grind and getting up early and just me waking up at 3 and doing things all the time, just grinding, work longer than anybody, right? And I get all that principle. But what really started to help me to prosper in areas that I did not find too much success early on is that I was just starting just to be me. But keeping my desires and dreams front and center. What I mean by that is there's nothing wrong going and watching a movie with your wife. There's nothing wrong with going out in the patio and having a cup of coffee. My wife and I do this every morning. Matter of fact, we go sit in these 2 chairs right by the pool every morning and have coffee. There's certain things throughout the day that you do, and there's nothing wrong with doing it. Matter of fact, I would encourage you to get up from your desk where you are about every 45 minutes to an hour and go do something else for a couple minutes and come back. You'll find yourself a lot more refreshed. Now, it doesn't mean with the things I'm doing apart from my office, I don't necessarily think about the business. A lot of times I am. And a lot of times I come back into the office and I'm a lot more refreshed. I go have another cup of coffee, or, I go get a snack, or I go do something else. And you guys that follow me long enough, throughout the day, I'll spend at least a half an hour up to an hour each day, just meditating, thinking, and doing a lot of those things. But even apart from that, just be you throughout the day. Don't have this rigid time frame where you got to work 12 hours and you got to work 16 hours or whatever the time frame is. And you just got to outwork everybody. Man, do the things that you enjoy. And as you do those things, I found that a lot more creative ideas come my way. A lot more thoughts start to come my way. I have walking through this life and doing business, but I'm kind of working on my business, not in my business. And when you're stuck at the desk and you're just doing the mundane things that you have to do, and I'm not excusing not doing your business, taking care of business, but when you just constantly do those things and don't do the things you enjoy in life, you're always in your business. And you oftentimes can get in your own way. And you oftentimes can sabotage your business and yourself by getting into your own way. You need to work on your business, and sometimes working on your business. And this is the beauty about being an entrepreneur. I can walk away from the desk, walk away from the office, go out back, do some different things, I'm still kind of technically working on my business. And I come with a lot more ideas, a lot more, it's just more refreshing. And I want to encourage you to do that. So be you, do you, keep your hobbies, keep your other areas and levels of interest, be engaged in those things. Don't try to, my example, the grandbabies come over. I mean, more often than not, unless I'm right smack in the middle of a consultation or something like that, I'm in my office in the front of my house, so I can see out front. I can see when somebody pulls up and they start walking up to the house, and I see my grandbabies. Man, I'll immediately stop most of the time. Again, unless I'm in the middle of a consultation or a phone call, something like that, I'll immediately stop and go embrace them and tell them I love them and spend a few minutes with them or something. It's just, you want to do those different kinds of things throughout the day, so it keeps you refreshed. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, or you already are, and you want to be successful, man, do these 3 things. Make a decision, not a choice. You're in it for the long haul. Eliminate distractions and do you. Be yourself. Have fun in this world. We only have one life to live. Have fun, enjoy it, and embrace it to the fullest. So hope this was helpful for you. Hopefully that you got something from this. These are some of the things I have learned as an entrepreneur over the years. And I believe you embrace them, make them your own, you will be successful in whatever venture, whatever you're doing out there. And until next time, God bless.